weeks left after this week. So I am so proud of every single one of you that have made it this far and are still actively participating. That's huge. I mean, that just shows that you have commitment to your business, that you want, you really want this and you want to succeed. So I guess I should introduce myself because you guys haven't heard from me for like 10 weeks because I haven't done any of the trainings other than our very first Lighthouse Zoom. I'm Shelby Cumby, and I am a director for Team Mountain Movers. I've been with Scentsy for a little over 3 years, and I joined Scentsy without trying Scentsy. I'm one of those. And when I joined, I had no real ambition. I just wanted to make money. And for me and my husband, being debt-free is our dream. Oh, I think I got muted. We're working really hard to get to that point in our lives where we don't even have a mortgage payment. That's our goal. So I'm really passionate about financials. It's so important to the success of your business. We were able to become debt-free other than our mortgage. And then I was able to quit my full-time job. So for me, I worked in corrections for 8 years. I was a correctional officer in a male facility for 6. And then I worked as an administrative assistant for 2. And we have 4 kids. So it was rough. It was rough working full-time. And my husband is a firefighter. He works 72-hour shifts. So he's gone for 3 days. And so that was really one of those things that I never really thought I'd get to experience working from home. But when we paid off our debt and we looked at our budget, we realized we could make ends meet on just his income alone. A lot of people consider when you rely on 2 incomes as falling into the 2 income trap. So I'll talk about that a little bit. I'm going to talk about financials in your Scentsy business, but I want you guys to start thinking about financials in other areas, in your personal areas, in your home life, because that can affect whether your Scentsy business succeeds or fails. If you are spending more money than you're making, then your business isn't worth you running anymore. So that's why this is so important. And the sooner you start to implement these tips into your business, if you're not already, the sooner that you're going to actually be making money and telling your money where to go. So I've been full-time Scentsy for 1.5 years now. And my Scentsy income is not quite what my state employee income was. But we are better off. We're better off financially. And that's just because we've been managing our money. So I am really passionate about teaching people to manage their money and to not live beyond your means. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Ask any questions that you have in the chat, and I will try to answer them. And then at the end, if you guys want to like talk about anything or, share anything, that's totally fine too, because this isn't going to take me too long. So first of all, when I started Scentsy, my sponsor is not a financial minded person. She's amazing, but she's not, she does not know how to budget. She doesn't care to budget. It's just not her thing. So when I asked her, how much money should I be spending on my business? She was like, I don't know. I don't really track it, just spend money as you need to get things. So I had to search for someone else that had knowledge in that area because I knew right away that I wasn't going to be spending more than I was making. I joined Scentsy because I wanted to make extra money. We were about to get married too. So I joined the end of February and we had a huge wedding in April. So it's almost my 3rd anniversary. So I was like, we spent like $13,000 of our own money on our wedding. And that was a huge, huge sacrifice for us. But we just really wanted to make it special. We already had our kiddos and we wanted to just make it really fun for the family. We didn't want them to have to pay for anything. So we even financed, we even paid for like, the mother-in-law dress and suits and all of that stuff. So it was really important to us to be able to afford to do that. Anyway, when I started searching for someone that I could learn from, I found a random video on YouTube by Christina Stainbrook doing a training for her team. It was like something that you wouldn't normally watch because it didn't have like a catchy title. It was literally just a team training. And I noticed that she was going to talk about, I think maybe I had searched something about budget, but she did talk about budget in that video. And this is what I learned from her that I still implement into my business. So the basics are that I started putting 25% of my Scentsy earnings back into my business right away. That's from day one. So I kind of worked my business hard from the very beginning. I think my first Scentsy check was like $800. And I didn't have a team, but that was PRV. So I already made $800. So first thing I did was pay myself back for my starter kit and anything else that I had bought. Now, when I finally learned 25%, it just gave me something to work from. And working from percentages is really important because our Scentsy checks fluctuate a lot. Like what we're making right now is completely different than what we can make in the fall time. So 25% is where I started, and I can kind of tell you a little bit where I am now. When I take 25%, that goes onto my Scentsy Visa. So I don't use that card that Scentsy gives us for any personal purchases. And this is why. So taxes are super important. Claiming our deductions is so important. And we don't want to be using all these different forms of payment for our Scentsy expenses. So my PWS comes out of that. My Warmer of the Month comes out of that. And anything else that I purchase for my business comes from that. So that's the first thing I do is transfer 25% over to my Scentsy Visa. Now you may have an account that you like for that, but that's what I do, and that's what works for me because I can look at that and see where my money has gone for the month. Yes, Smile IQ is amazing. So yeah, for those things that you can't track that you just spend like miles, that's a huge, huge tax deduction. So that's definitely something that write that down. If you aren't already using Mile IQ, it's awesome. Another thing that I do is 10% of my Scentsy check goes into an account that I use for traveling with Scentsy. So as a director, it's so important for me to get to every single event that I can. And when events come up, that's not going to be something that's going to come out of my personal finances. So this is what I put 10% into an account so that when I travel with Scentsy, when I go to leadership or reunion, that's where that money is coming from. So it's never an unexpected expense or something I have to come up with. It goes into an account every single time. And then really important is to save for taxes. So I save 20% for taxes. You may have a different figure that works for you, but that's something that's super nice because this last year, when I filed my taxes, I had about $3,500 saved, and I didn't have to pay because we had overpaid my husband's income and we had some credits. So basically, that $3,500 that I saved was like my tax refund. So normally, when you work for yourself and you're self-employed, you don't get a tax refund anymore. But if you're putting money aside and you're saving, then you still get your tax refund because you're usually over saving for that. So what that leaves is roughly 50-60% of your, hold on one second, there we go. 50 to 60% of your Scentsy check, that gets to go to like family bills. Now, this video that I watched of Christina's, she said in your first year with Scentsy, 100% of your income might go back into your business. And I was like, dang, that's insane. But if you were making $200 to $300 a month, that would totally make sense that you would need to put that money back into your business. So every single month, I create a business budget. So I pulled up one, or I've looked at my planner to show you like an actual one that I did. And this is a good example because, let me show you guys. I know it's kind of hard to see. It's totally like not perfect. And you can see I started thinking I was going to spend $255 in my budget that month. And then when I started writing everything out, I was like, yeah, I'm going to need more than that. So I had to go up. So I changed it to $300 a month. So this is so important because if I didn't write everything down, I would have set myself up for overspending for my business, or not having enough money set aside for my business. So this is what I do is I write it in my planner. This is a kit life, but like this is like right before March were to start, I would write my budget there. You can do whatever works for you. A spreadsheet, a scrap piece of paper, a Post-it note, whatever works for you. But you guys have to have a business budget every single month. And I think that this is something that like the people that are making tons of money with Scentsy have a business budget, you guys. You really can't go without one. Because what happens when you don't have a business budget is we're doing everything we can for our business to succeed. So we start buying all of these things that we don't necessarily need, or we find a good deal on something, or the family store comes out with something new, and we buy all this stuff, and then it ends up in a closet or it ends up in a cabinet, and we're not really using it for our business. So having a budget keeps me from spending money on things I don't need or I didn't plan for. Like when the Scentsy, like an example, Scentsy Family Store comes out with that cute little Scentsy Go thing, right? Well, I'm like, I want one of those. I think I might be able to sell more if I have one of those. But I didn't have it in my budget to buy it right when it came out. So I haven't bought it yet because it hasn't been in my budget. Now for me, my Scentsy check could cover our mortgage if it needed to. But still, I don't have it in my budget to spend $22 or however much it is on that because it wasn't a planned expense. Another tip is, when you recruit someone and they hit the Shooting Star Award, you get $25 in credit. So definitely use that to your advantage. Now for me, I usually have offered some kind of incentive to my frontline. So when I recruit someone, I say, hey, if you certify within 30 days, I will purchase a mini tester set for you. It's $25 value. And usually if they're working to certify within 30 days, they're going to hit Shooting Star. So you're able to use that credit to purchase that for them. So you're able to spoil your team in that way. Another number that you guys should write down is 3%. So Heidi has always said you should never spend more than 3% of your Scentsy income on your team. As you grow your team and you start to incentivize, you're going to start to realize that it can get really expensive. So if you're spending, $50 on team prizes every month, but your Scentsy check's only $500, you're spending too much money on your team. A handwritten note, things like that, those are going to be the things that are going to get you through to where you can actually afford to spend money on your team. When I learned that from Heidi, the 3%, I realized I was spending too much money. So there's going to be times where you buy postcards or you have a promotion in your downline. Like for me, I really like to celebrate Star Consultant, and I really like to celebrate Superstar Consultant, obviously. So I may spend $20, $30 on someone, buying them like a pizza gift certificate and a Redbox movie. So there's going to be months where you're going to have expenses like that. And we know those are coming because we know they promoted before we get paid. And so just having those numbers and figures in mind is really important. Sometimes it's fun at the end of the month because I have extra money in my Scentsy budget to get Starbucks gift cards for people. Some of my girls that are in Lighthouse have seen me do that. Like if they're showing up for these, they may have got a random $5 gift card in their email for Starbucks because I want to show that appreciation for them. But I always make sure that I have planned or I have like an overage due to something costing me less. I wanted to share this quote. I love this quote by Benjamin Franklin. It's just a classic quote, and it says, "Beware of little expenses. A small leak will sink a great ship." So as we have these small expenses come up in our business, a little bit here, a little bit there. Half price items, those are so tempting. Sometimes we want all the warmers. Sometimes we want all the 6 packs of wax, or, diffusers. Are you spending money on those kind of things? It can throw your budget completely out of whack. So if it's not there, you're going to be getting, 3-pack of light bulbs or even a scent circle. I've done that hundreds of times. So I really just loved that quote. So those are my tips on setting a financial budget. Just figuring out what percentages work for you. As my income has gone up with Scentsy, I don't put 25% into my business anymore because I don't always have to. So like in the fall, I may reduce that number to 15% if I have like a $3,000 check. So it's just you're gonna have to roll with it and figure out what is best for you and your business. And you can set that percentage for a while and then, alter it as you go forward. We talk a lot about having, spousal support and the support of your family and friends around you. So if you're married or you have someone who's a huge supporter of your business, ask their opinion. You can sit down with them and show them your budget and be like, what do you think of this? Or do you see anywhere I can cut back, or things like that? Because people value you asking their opinion. That's one great way to make them feel included in your business. So that's just a little tip there. Sorry. Okay. So now that I've talked about budget, I want to talk about making the most money that you can with Scentsy. And that comes with goal setting. So when I first started setting goals, I really wasn't sure what I was aiming for because I was actively building a team. And so I thought, okay, well, maybe it'd be nice if I made an extra $1,000 a month. And I was able to look at my PRV and kind of make an idea of what I needed to do to earn that much money. So at director level, most of us, there's no reason we would ever make less than $1,000 a month, because a lot of us shoot for $2,000 in sales. And that's 600 PRV right there. 600 in commission right there. So coming up with a goal is really important. If you're not sure with your team size or your frontline size what you should be doing, talk to a leader. So you can talk to one of your sponsor or a leader, whoever invited you to Lighthouse, and be like, I want to make, this is something I've done, like a real life example. I told Katie, I want to make $5,000 a month. What does that look like? Because I am a numbers person. I need to see it. I can't just have this number goal and not know what the heck I need to do to get there, other than recruit my butt off, and eventually it happens. I want to see what a $5,000 check looks like. So I'm able to ask someone, and they can look back and see okay, I made a $5,000 check this month. This is what my team size looked like. My front line was this big. I had this many star consultants. So it kind of gives me a mental picture of what I need to do to earn that much money. So on my board right behind my desk is a check that I wrote to myself. We have a little template, and I'm going to upload it later. But I want you guys to write yourself a check that you want to make for November of 2018. So my check is $5,000. I want to make a $5,000 commission check in November, and my biggest check I've ever made is $3,200. So that's a pretty big jump for me. So I want you guys to do that so that you have a goal in mind for this fall that you're working towards. Because as awesome as incentives are, and I freaking love Scentsy's incentives because they've made my business way better than what it would be. The real thing that a lot of us are here for is we need a steady paycheck. We need something that our families can rely on and that we can use to pay for the things that our family needs. That's how I see it. And I know so many of my team and so many of my friends they have these big goals or they have these big needs in their lives. And so it's just really important to get this stuff figured out and have a plan, because if you don't have a plan, you're going to be spending too much money You're going to wonder where it all went. And then you're going to be sitting there like, is this actually worth it when you're doing your taxes and realizing that you way overspent on your business. So that is everything. Let me make sure I didn't forget anything. I feel like I'm forgetting something, but I'm sure they'll come to me. If you guys have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask, because I'd love to answer any of them. I went really fast, and it's only 7:23, holy moly. But I just want you guys to take these little things that we talked about and implement them into your business right now. If anything can change and be perfected in your budget, it just makes a huge, huge difference in going forward and actually making a profit. We want to make a profit with Scentsy. So the percentages that I use most often are 25% goes back to business budget. I would say, actually, let's say 15 to 25% is what I use now. I always save 20% for taxes. And I always save 10% for travel. Now, this is also your travel account can be an added bonus at the end of the year if you have extras. If you have extra in there to use and use for a family goal, because extra savings is never a bad thing. If you don't have an account that you use for Scentsy exclusively, like my checking account, I call it a holding tank. And that account is what my Scentsy customers' cash and checks and everything are going into. Start one ASAP. Having an account just for Scentsy is so important. And I think that's kind of one of those little things that you don't always think to teach, but you don't want to mix Scentsy money with family money, because you're going to spend family money on Scentsy. You're going to cover for your customers. You're going to do things like that and expect to get money from them later on. And then you're going to be wondering, oh, wait, I was supposed to get groceries or gas, and where did our money go? So having a separate account, I actually use mine at a separate bank, and I call it my holding tank. And that's what I put Scentsy, my customers' money into. I think that's it. So the challenge that I have is write down this budget. Sorry, my dog. Quit. Sorry. Write down this budget, kind of look at your budget and see what's going to work for you, and then implement it into your business. If you don't already have a checking account that you use just for Scentsy, get that going and start saving for taxes and making sure that that's a priority. Oh, Cassie shared her stuff. Awesome. See, Cassie's awesome because she's able to save 50% of her check. That's huge. I can't imagine. If I could save 50% of my check, that would mean amazing things for my family. So if you have, personal finance questions, we do all of our personal finance based off of Dave Ramsey's baby steps. So if you go to daveramsey.com, you can kind of see his baby steps. For us, having our finances in order personally is the only way that I could stay home and work my business. And as much as my business has grown in the last year and a half, I can't imagine if I wasn't focused solely on Scentsy. Yes. Oh yeah, Marie, I also tithe out of my Scentsy too. So yes, so Cassie's talking about using a credit card because there's a lot of perks to credit cards. Sometimes they offer the flyer miles or cash back. A lot of people use these in their businesses. If you trust yourself to not go overboard, then that's awesome. But I don't trust myself. And you think I would, because I've, been so firm with my finances for several years, but I still know how easy it is to go overspend when I'm using a card like that. If you pay it off each month, then you're going to see it but a lot of times it's real easy to, yeah, exactly. It's real easy to overspend. So do you guys have any questions?
Shelby, I was just thinking maybe we should, because we've all been at different stages in our business, maybe we should just tell some of the ways where we kind of can have cut costs in our business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, instead of buying full catalogs, you can buy the showcase brochures.
Yes.
Or tell people that you're going digital and running your business paperless, and you just send them the link to your catalog, and then you're no money out. Because I know, like, the new catalog comes and they're on sale, and you feel like you need to order 4 or 5 packages of them, but that's a big expense. So, save those for your parties, and just tell people you're going digital. And people would rather have that in hand than have another paper around their house a lot of times too.
Yes, that is such a good tip. I love to print when you pull up the digital copy of the catalog, you can print the combine and save page as like a full sheet of paper, and you can stick that in there. They're also super cheap to mail. If you fold them in half, you can mail them for 1 stamp in the, I don't know exactly the size envelope, but it's the envelope that's like a Hallmark card size. Does anyone else have any tips on how they save money? I love that.
Does anybody send samples monthly? Do you do felt samples, or do you do like chunky shapes? Oh, she's gonna type. You do the fun shapes. So you're paying what, like almost $1, $1.10 to mail them? No? 1 stamp. Wow. Turn on your microphone and tell us how you're doing that.
I make them small enough and like thin enough to send. So when I put 1 or 2 in the envelope, I also use, I don't think I have an envelope over here with me. I use like the brown manila envelopes, but they're the long letter size ones. I put them in there with the monthly flyer and stuff like that for the warmer of the month. But then I'll put the samples on, like 1 on each side. Yeah, they're this size. Okay. And I'll put like a sample over on this side and a sample over on this side. So when I fold it, it doesn't actually add a lot of weight to it. And my mailman's really cool. He'll just take me the whole stack for me. Got 1 stamp on each.
Yeah, I think that depends on your mail person too, because our old mail person used to take them with 1 stamp with the like a wax in it. Now I can only do felt samples. That's the only way they'll take them. Even I can't send cent circles with 1 stamp anymore. I have to do a 71-cent stamp.
Oh, well. Sometimes what I do too is if I have a lot of them to send out, I'll drop them in like the blue bins over by the post office, so they don't even go into the hands until they're inside. I've never had one come back.
Nobody cares. That's a good idea.
But yeah, I really like, can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to hear me when I have my headphones on. I'm going to take these on. But I really like Shelby's tip about not getting caught up in the Cincy family store. That's a huge one. It really can get overwhelming, and you can really like see in there and everything looks cool and shiny, and just try to think minimalist. Like if I could only get a certain amount of things, if I could only had this much to spend, what would I spend on my business this month? Which is why it's super important to do the budgeting. I mean, my sponsor never taught me this either, so when I first met Shelby at boot camp and she was talking about all this, I'm like, oh my God, this is like huge, so that's why I think this is such an important part of being a director and being in business, because if you want to be a director, you have to treat it like a business, and you have to have a budget for yourself. Because I know me, I get so excited, like this is shiny, I want to pick this up and this and this and this, and then you're like, oh crap, I just spent family money. And that's something I never had associated before. I'd never gotten the separate account because I hadn't been told about it. So I'm like, okay, I got to get a separate account, and it makes a huge difference. and having it separate even from your family bank account, that you can't just like grab from one account and put it into the other one with just the click of a button. You have to actually like, you know, go to the bank or whatever. That makes a huge difference, because you really don't want to be putting your family in the lurch for doing this business. So yeah.
Oh, I love that. You guys are sharing such good things. Never share or never buy Vistaprint unless it's 50% off. I totally agree with you there. I never do. My stuff will sit finished until I finally get that code. And then, yeah, so she's talking about how much an eye-opener, how much you spent compared to how much you make. It is a huge eye-opener. I think when we do our taxes and we're showing like what we've spent, a lot of times it's like a lot more, because for me, like I have 4 kids, so I'm constantly driving around and like dropping off a Scentsy delivery, then dropping off a kid, and then picking up a kid and picking up a bag party or whatever I do, but I'm going to write off all those miles. And so it's not always exactly what comes out of our pocket, but it is what our business is worth, and you want to show a profit. The IRS isn't wanting to see these huge losses every year. It's like 3 years in a row that you show a loss until they start to question you. So it's really important to show a profit in your business. And you know, when you earn incentives with Scentsy, they add that to your 1099. So like people who went to Africa, people who went to Punta Cana, you know, that's $5,000 to $10,000 that's added to your 1099 as income, because you got a trip worth that much. So Cassie and I have worked together on kind of creating a better tracking system for our taxes. And that also goes into when you're tracking what you're writing off every single month, it keeps you in check with your budget. So that's a really, really good idea too. It can take you guys like 20 to 40 minutes a week to do this stuff, but it's so important. It's so worth your time. Like a brick and mortar business would never operate without a business budget or anything like that. And that's why so many people come in and they leave Scentsy because they think, I spent too much money. I've heard that so many times. I spent too much money. I spent more than I made, you know, and that's because they were buying all the stuff they didn't need. I was a director before I bought business cards. I was, because I didn't want to spend the $35 on them. I labeled the crap out of everything with those print your own labels. I never bought business cards until I was like a director, because all my business cards say director on them, because I was trying to remember when I bought them. And this is the stuff I'm passing on to my frontline, because when you recruit people, you want to teach them how to make money. So if they're going and buying all this stuff, then their family or they, you know, they're not going to support it because they're not going to see a profit. So financial management is one of the most important things in this business. Does anyone else have anything to add?
Question?
I put a comment there, Shelby, about if you want to share what you did with the bricks.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was so cool. So that way you have your own little bit, but you also kind of, I'll let you share it, but it was really
Sure.
cool.
Oh, yeah, that's like, sorry, I didn't see that. So I have a very local team. I live in a smaller town. We're like under 20,000, but I have about 30 consultants in my county on my team. And so when we have specials come up like Sense of the Season or Bring Back My Bar or the bricks, I usually offer, and I usually do this with just my frontline and the ones that are really close to me locally. And I'll say, okay, I'm going to buy the bricks. You guys want to split this up? Now, this is not something you can post in a team page. That's against Scentsy compliance. But this is something like, for me, I am 7 weeks pregnant and sicker than a dog. I'm not doing parties this month. No. So 120 PRV is huge for me. So I just messaged these girls, like 7 girls, and I said, hey, I'm going to get the bricks. Do you want a cube of each? It'll be $13.70. And they were like, yes, because these are the girls that I know have about 300 to 500 PRV every month. they're not making a ton of money with their business to where they can afford to buy every single brick. Now, if you look back at when we had sea salt avocado and all those bricks come out, nobody bought them up until consultants started getting them in and smelling them, and they were like, oh my gosh, this one is amazing. And everyone was like, oh, sign me up, I need one. So it's important to have those things on hand so you can share them and you can actually smell them yourself. So that's one thing I do to save money. I didn't spend $120. I spent $120, but I was able to make back 7/8 of that. Plus I got the PRV for it. So I know that it's not something I do all the time. I always offer if they wanted to pay for it, they could too, but they would rather me just do it and stop by my house and pick them up. So that's something that I do that I'm able to offer to my local team that makes me PRV and saves all of us money. We could probably do something where we each ordered one, something like that too. But I just needed the PRV this month. So I'm like, I'm going to get these. Would you guys want to do this? And of course, I'm going to have like 10 people probably want like a sample, and that's okay. I'll be able to like do a little sliver for them or whatever. But yeah, thanks for bringing
Can
that
I
up.
chime in, Shelby?
Mm-hmm.
So I am not by any means a huge budgety person. I'm very much like Shelby and I's upline, where I just kind of go with the flow, and if it's shiny, whatever. I don't spend a ton of money on my business. I don't go and get a bunch of stuff, but I also don't write anything down either and say that I have X amount of dollars and whatever. I've never been that kind of person. But I will say, pick your battles when it comes with what you are going to spend your money on. I had recently someone in my downline who was going to spend the money to have a logo made versus buying a reunion ticket. If you look at the payoff between having, having a logo is great, but that's fluff. That's fluffy stuff. You can get that down the road when you're making a couple grand a month, right? Okay. It's not going to change your business. People aren't going to be like, oh my God, she's got a logo. She's more official. I'm going to go with her. But you are going to get huge amounts of training. I mean, I got to go to the annual mentor workshop recently, a few weeks ago, and the vast majority of all the leaders had said the catalyst for their leaders just propelling forward were events like reunion and all these things that you go to. So pick whatever it is that you're going to. So if you are going to invest money into your business, pick it wisely. Don't blow money on a logo versus going to reunion. Don't blow money on Starbucks gift cards versus, whatever. Like, there's things that you need to pick your battles on when it comes to investing your money. Like warmer and scent of the month. I think that's one of those things that's just very, I highly recommend it. If anything, at least the scent of the month, so that you have a new product to share. It's tax deductible. It counts towards PRV. You can sell it off, use one bar to make samples and sell the rest of them, and you'll make your money back tenfold. So it's just, there's things that you should pick. What's going to pay you back and what's just fluffy crap.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I love that because, like I said, when we started, like, missing Scentsy events is just out of the question for me. If I have an opportunity to go, if it's an event that I can pay to go or I can earn to go, as a director, we have these things called consistency. So if you hit director numbers for 3 months in a row, you get leadership for free. Or you get, is that right? Reunion registration for free. If you hit director numbers 6 months in a row, you get leadership for free. Those were huge motivators for me. Like, I'm going to take, I went to New Orleans. It was $700 if you paid to register, I believe. All I had to pay for was my flight because the room was covered. There was a lot of meals covered. And I earned that just because I worked my business. So take advantage of those annual sales. You get $1,000 credit or $1,000 cash at the end of the year, at the end of the Scentsy year. Annual mentor, you get $50 for every person that's certified and more if they were a rank above certified. So this is, for me, I've always tried to take advantage of what Scentsy offers, and events are huge. I didn't realize that I could actually do this until I went to Reunion as a star consultant. And then my next event was leadership, which I earned a cruise to Cozumel, and I was a director by the time I went there because of the hard work that I put in the summer. So just working hard, using what Scentsy gives us is huge. Right. So they just added leadership to the beginning of Reunion. So it's a little different than what it used to be. It used to be a different trip in January. Now that we have the opportunity to earn 2 trips, they've put leadership at the beginning of Reunion, which is really great for a lot of leaders because especially those that work full-time, school teachers and nurses, they were having a hard time getting time off for leadership in January and to go to Reunion in the summer. So they kind of put those together.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I purchased a bunch of these cute little baggies to send out to, like, as thank yous for people that I get like random online orders from.
Mm-hmm.
And it'd be a really good size just to send out for like samples and stuff. So I go to the post office and it cost me $3.80 to mail out like 4 or 5 samples and 2 flyers and a business card.
Yeah.
Is outrageous.
Girl, I feel you. I have a package of the same size ones that I don't use because of how much it costs to send them.
Okay, so is there a way to send out something like that as like a thank you, or because I have my like random orders, I have trouble hearing back from them. They don't answer phone calls, my texts, my emails. That's it. I get one and done, which drives me crazy.
Yeah.
So I find a way to like reach out to them in a different way. And I'm like, oh, maybe if I mail them some free stuff, but I'm not $4 every single time I get that random order, because I can have 4 or 5 of them in a month. And that becomes way too expensive. My husband's like, never again. That's to say make you any more money by doing that. We got to find different. So do you have any like options on thought process on like what I could do other than that?
Not with those little guys. You can use those and do fun things and put them inside orders maybe, because I have a package of those that I don't use because they cost so much to send. But what I do, every single PWS, random or not, they get a scent circle. And let me show you what I do. Just a second. So when I mail these to keep them under a stamp, I rip off the cardboard, and if there's any air in there, I take scissors and I put a little snip in it, and I stick this in like the little dollar store size cards, and I mail it with 1 stamp. I used to fold them, but then by the time, if there was any air in there at all, the post office didn't like that. They wanted more stamps because I have a nitpicky post office too. So for me, the cheapest thing for me that I found is rip that off, let out any air that's in there, and then stick that in the thank you card. I send one of those for every single order, and I always, use my half-offs for them. Oh, another tip, random tip, is create a customer called business supplies. So if you don't have this, start it now. And just like if you were to have like me, like Shelby Cumbie as a customer, you're going to say first name business, last name supplies. And underneath that customer name, you're going to order all your business supplies. And then at the end of the year, in case you forget to print any out, you can just search under that customer name, business supplies, and have all of your business supplies that you've spent for the entire year. So that's really, really, really good stuff. Try and print your receipts. Like for me, I just bought the bricks. Try to print your receipts as you do it and stick them somewhere. Buy one of those, buy some kind of a tub, whatever, bin, and then just throw them in there. At least keep them together and organize them when you can. That's the most important thing, is keeping them together.
I use an expandable like file, and I just file them like month to month.
Awesome.
So I have like a 13 one. I don't use all the spots. But so if you mail, you can get these in the Scentsy Family Store. If you mail catalogs in these clear envelopes, I can mail a catalog and felt samples plus like 3 brochures for $1.80 and some and like 2 cents or something in here. Something else that my postmaster told me, because I was asking him about the showcase brochures, since they're a lot less expensive to mail. He said, sorry, my dogs are barking. You can mail them flat like this, and this is the most expensive way to mail them. If you fold them, you can fit them in the envelope, and it's $1.82. If you fold them like this and washi tape them or use like a clear sticker, you can mail them with one stamp. So you could just like print out your customer's information and stick them on here. And, you know, I mean, if you're washi taping the end, you can always like slide a felt sample in there or whatever, and it's not going to fall out. So that was something my postmaster told me.
When you mail that out like that, do you have to put the stamp and the address facing a certain direction?
No, they've never said anything like that to me. They do tell me though, when I mail things like Shelby was saying about the scent circles, if they can feel the staple, they want more postage because it has to be hand sorted. So I'll put my scent circle inside of a flyer so it's not likely to catch on the machine. If that makes sense. And oh, go ahead.
When I went to the post office last to mail just a flyer, and I had it just like this, and I put a stamp and the address on it like this, and I just used the scent stickers to shut it, and it was like close to $1 to mail this like this. But if I were to turn it this direction, it's super, super cheap.
Oh.
Really weird thing. And she was like, start turning them instead of mailing them this way because it's cheaper to do it this way. Why that makes a difference, I don't understand. But that's what I was told.
And I think that it just depends too on who trained them and, you know, that kind of stuff too, because we had this really cool postmaster forever and I could mail stuff. Like I was mailing these with like 3 samples and a catalog and all of the brochures in it, and it was costing me like 83 cents. And then all of a sudden we got a new lady in charge of the post office and my postage budget like doubled.
Oh. Yeah. Okay, guys. Well, I think this was awesome. I hope that you got something out of it. If you think of any questions, come back and ask them in Lighthouse. It's definitely something we all have struggled with. Even those that are making $10,000 a month struggle with it. It's not, you know, or maybe they're not, but they're really spending more money than they know that they are, or that they realize that they are. So your homework is to write down some percentages and get ready for next month's commission, and then also to write yourself a check for what you want your fall commission to be. And if you need to reach out to someone to see how to make that much money, do it. I can answer questions. Obviously, if it's above what I've made, I'm gonna have a hard time telling you how to make it. But if it's less than what I've made, I can definitely do that. But I know that we have some high earners, you know, so we can definitely help you there. So that's about it. Thank you guys so much for joining tonight. I appreciate you taking the time to be here live. Okay. Bye, guys.